Hey, what's up, everybody? In this lesson, we're going to really look at how to color correct an image using adjustment layers. There are multiple ways to color correct images, and a lot of us may find ourselves in the Camera Raw filter. Now, while Camera Raw is an amazing tool, which you can find other videos on this channel about, it can be rather clunky for the beginning user, and it can cause a lot of issues when the user is trying to adjust color. Let's keep things simple today, and let's dismiss those changes and focus purely on the adjustment layers in Photoshop. Let's look at this image. Great shot, good mood, but the lighting is a bit overly intense. The tungsten lamp on the right throws a heavy monochromatic orange cast over everything. Her skin tones are completely buried within the orange, and in the old days, that Camera Raw would be the fix. But in Photoshop 2026, we have an update. Photoshop finally gave us what we've been asking for, a dedicated color and vibrance adjustment layer. This changes everything on how we color correct. Let's fix this image in 3 non-destructive steps. Step 1, we're going to do the heavy lifting, and we're going to use the color and vibrance layer for that. Go to your adjustments and select Color and Vibrance, which is going to be the very first layer that you see in the adjustment layer panel. Here we have multiple options. Now we do have an auto white balance, but I'm not too sure what specifically was white in this particular shot. Let's focus first on the temperature slider. We know it's a bit too orange. I'm going to slide this slider significantly to the left here, and as you can see, that orange will start to disappear. Now we want to be mindful of not completely making it blue, because essentially then we just have the problem we had at the start. I'm going to pull mine roughly toward about maybe 57, negative 57 to speak. And by pulling that temperature, we basically took that pumpkin orange wall and started to move it to its natural color. Next, let's tweak the tint slider. We're going to just do a micro adjustment here, and we're going to slide it toward green ever slightly. And I always like to show you the extremes of either way. What we're really doing is just kind of pulling some of the purple magenta out of that lamp, because we don't want it to kind of have overly blue, back to a solid color. For the vibrance versus saturation, first we're going to increase the vibrance quite substantially, and notice how this image transforms. Look at this transformation. We're going to go up into the 30s for this one. And I want you to leave saturation alone. Now, here's why vibrance and saturation are very different. Both can achieve kind of a gray-like look, but in vibrance, we kind of retain, and it doesn't hurt the skin tones. If I move, as you can see, saturation up, it almost makes her look like she has a sunburn. That's something on why I usually keep the saturation low and adjust the vibrance, just to get that pop of color. The next thing we want to do for step 2 is look at another adjustment layer. This one's called Selective Color. The global color we just did in the first adjustment layer makes this a lot better, but her skin is still slightly muddy, and the light is a little bit harsh still, and the shadows are a bit too flat. To get a little more surgical precision, we're going to click Selective Color and get our Selective Color adjustment layer. Now here you have multiple options to isolate specific colors. I'm going to go to the red channel, and in our red channel I want to clean up that skin just a little bit. And I'm going to find the magenta filter here, and I'm going to drag it slightly to the left. I don't want to go too far. I don't want to make her look jaundiced, but we're going to just slightly pull that to the left. And then we can always grab the yellow slider and just start adjusting. We, again, want to adjust. We don't want her to look sunburned, but we do want her to be a little bit more natural. We're going to work on the reds as we go through and adjust accordingly. Now we can play with a little bit of the neutrals. Neutrals, as you all know, or may not know, are gray areas. For this, I'm going to select the cyan filter, and I'm going to move this cyan filter a little bit to the right, just to pull in a little more moody lighting. And I'm going to go down to that yellow slider, and we're going to move it a little bit more to the left. We can do the same with the black filter, just adjusting ever slightly. And if you get too blue, you notice immediately the haze that you're getting there. You can just kind of crank a little bit more yellow into that scene. Now, what is amazing about this is we're injecting a little bit of cool color to this originally really warm image, but now her face pops. It's the central focal point. We don't have any hot lights or overly glowed elements. It's really quite nice. The final adjustment is going to be through adjustments, and we're going to look for the good old curves adjustment. We're going to add a little bit of polish with this. To do this, I'm going to add a couple points on my curve. I'm going to add one at the top. Now this point will control the brightness of the light points in the scene, and then one near the bottom of the curve that will control the shadows. And I'm going to create what's called a simple S curve, and we're going to just adjust these ever slightly. And we don't need it too much here because it's very dramatic, but if you're getting a little too dark of an image, you can always crank the elements over just slightly. This is looking rather nice. Pull in some of the brightness on the face. Awesome. And let's take a look at what we created. I'm going to shift select all my layers, drag them into a new group, and look at the before, which is really flat. If you notice, there's really no detail. And look at the after. And if we zoom in, you'll notice that the before, we got a little bit of muddy with the skin texture, and now we're pulling in all these amazing shadow lines in here. By using that new color and vibrance filter first, we really have added a lot of adjustments to the physics of the lighting. That selective color helped us refine specific colors within the scene, and then that curve element brings back in the overall mood. This 2026 update is a real game changer for those doing non-destructive editing. If you like this video, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to my Tech Talk channel for more, and happy editing.